Hi, I'm Orla, and welcome back to Girl on a Microphone. Um, I'm low-key serving today. Like, the makeup is giving. Not that it doesn't usually, but I don't know. Just extra fabulous today, I guess. Um, but yeah, today I am gonna talk about, well, as we know, whatever I want to. But I think I'm gonna talk a little bit about, like, friendships and relationships, which isn't what I usually talk about. So we shall see how that goes. So there's been a lot going on. Time frame wise, I don't know when this is uploaded, what's going on in my life, but for like a decent amount of time, I've been just going through a lot of confusion, with my life, or not necessarily confusion, but like learning to accept that I don't have control, which is a really weird thing to feel. Turns out I have quite bad control issues, which always sounds very manipulative when I say that. Like, I don't know if it's a me problem, but I feel like a lot of people, when they think of people with control issues, they imagine like a toxic boyfriend, like a narcissistic man. At least I do. I don't know if that's a me problem, probably, but not in like that kind of way. In a kind of different way. It's more like I'm not necessarily trying to control another person. I'm trying to control like what happens to me, I guess is the best way to put it. Like, it's because I struggle to trust, sort of thing. But yeah, so that's been quite an interesting experience for me because I feel like with friendships specifically, I am very comfortable with having, I have a lot of new friends and stuff, but like similar structure to like my friendships, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds weird, but like I love meeting new interesting people, but I feel like I bond over like very similar things with other people, like, a sense of humor or like somebody's interests, or like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but I feel like with friendship, like I see somebody, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be friends with them. I already know it, you know? Um, and that's great and that's lovely. Relationships, not as much. That kind of my issue is what I find comfortable isn't always the best for me. And not that I don't pick good people. I seem to be quite good at picking good people. I just struggle to like be emotionally vulnerable. So I'm not necessarily emotionally unavailable. I don't know how to describe. Just kick the camera there. I don't really know how to describe what it is. It's like I care about somebody, and I think they're the most lovely person in the world, but I really get overwhelmed, I guess. And then that usually leads to the downfall of the relationship. But yeah, to be fair, a lot of it just comes down to I've got avoidant attachment issues, so that's my main. Like, I'm sure I've got other issues, but that's kind of my main issue in relationships. I don't always know how to fix it. But that's also because it's what's safe for me. It's what I've learned keeps me safe and things. So, not being avoidantly attached makes me very uncomfortable. And I don't know how to handle it, but that's kind of what I should be trying to do. I don't know, it's just really difficult because it's like you have to go against everything you've done to keep you safe. Like, you know, it's kind of a defense mechanism, and then you can't, to love somebody, you have to let go of that. And I am quite good at letting go of that sometimes. But I'm going to be honest, I do struggle with letting go of a lot of things. And not like in a hold grudge kind of way, but just like letting go of, you know, my attachment issues. You know, sometimes I know, you know, it doesn't help me, but I don't know how to be any other way. But it's something I'm learning a lot about. So, you know, yeah, learning a lot about. I have a therapist, so she's been telling me all about this. Yeah, so I'm learning a lot about myself, which is amazing. But I think it is kind of hard because in order to heal a lot of things, I have to put myself in uncomfortable situations, or at least uncomfortable situations for me. Like, obviously not anything unsafe necessarily, but like, you know, do I really want to sit and talk about how I feel? No. Like, I'm a very sensitive person and I'm very emotional. I do talk about it, but there's certain things I don't like talking about at all, you know? Like, I will be honest, there's some things I'm very emotionally vulnerable about because it suits me in a way, you know? Like, I don't know, there's certain issues in my life that I'm able to just talk about freely and not, you know, feel emotionally unavailable about, or like not seem like I'm bothered about it, but it's not a big deal, I guess. And then there's other aspects of my life that I really struggle to talk about. So yeah, I'm just learning to balance, you know, obviously you shouldn't talk about something you don't want to talk about, but at the same time, when I don't want to talk about something, or there's something important to bring up, but I don't want to do it, it's kind of shooting myself in the foot, to be honest. You know, I think this is such a terrible metaphor and a very basic one, but I feel like it's kind of like baking a cake. Like, that sounds so stupid, but like, I want to bake a cake. I kind of know how to bake a cake, but I always feel like I don't have the ingredients. And that sounds so silly, but like, I don't know, it's like I probably have everything in front of me, but it doesn't feel like that. So I'm like, I can't do it, you know? Where, to be honest, if I had a little more confidence in myself, or confidence that the other person would listen to me, I'd probably be fine. So it's just a lot of, I guess, reassuring myself, like, you know, I'll be fine. I'll be fine at the end of the day. But I think a lot of it is, I don't really, sorry, I keep on getting hair on my face today. I'm not really a relationship person, or into like romance or anything. Like, I'm just very happy with my platonic friendships. But at the same time, I use that as an excuse to not heal my issues. Like, obviously, other issues in my life I address, but I feel like my relationship with relationships, I'm like, well, you know, I'm not in a relationship, so it's okay, I'll figure that out eventually. But that doesn't really help. It just kind of makes things worse when you push things to the side, and then, you know, yeah, it just doesn't work. And I think I've started to realize that, maybe if I've got an issue to address, I should try and address it instead of pushing it to the back of my mind. Like, I've always been one of those girls who's just like, oh, I'm not made for relationships. Like, I just don't work in relationships. Like, I'm just an independent woman, which, trust, there's like being an independent woman, which I'd like to say I am, and then there's also being like a hyper independent woman, and then using that as your excuse for some things. And I don't mean that in like a bitchy kind of way, but I'm saying that because it's me. Like, you know, like, I think obviously it's great to be independent, but I'm like concerningly bad at being independent. Like, I'm not gonna say that I don't rely on people in my life, but like, at least from like a relationship standpoint, you know, like I just can't. I just struggle, I guess, to like receive love or like talk about, you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, I'm independent. I don't want a relationship. You also have attachment issues, babe. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I just don't need a relationship. You're also emotionally unavailable. You know? Like, I could go my whole entire shit, I can't speak. I could go my whole entire life not being in a relationship, and I think I would be happy. But at the same time, I probably should address my issues in case, you know, later on in my life I get into some kind of serious relationship and then I realize, oh shit, I've not actually addressed any of my issues for years, and now I felt like the love of my life, but I can't. I can't be in a healthy relationship because I've not addressed my issues. So, yeah, it's just kind of, yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. But it's just one of those things that I've really been learning a lot about myself, you know? Some things with platonic relationships as well, I've been talking about. But I don't know, I think I didn't realize how bad my trust issues were until I was talking about them. Same with my control issues. I wouldn't have, like a few weeks ago, if somebody had said, oh, you've got control issues, I wouldn't have, like, necessarily disagreed, but I wouldn't have been like, yeah, that's definitely me. I'd have been like, like, I don't know. If somebody had told me that, I would think about it. Like, I would be like, oh, shit, I probably do. But I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't be like, hi, I'm Orla and I have control issues. That's not, like, oh, is that an ambulance? But anyways, yeah, that's not something I would use to describe myself. I mean, I guess nobody would use it to describe themselves, but I wouldn't say, you know, there's a lot that I've learned about myself that I already knew, but that was kind of a bit of a shocker. But then I looked back at like what I'm like, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's not that surprising. You know, like a lot of the times I avoid situations because I can't control them. So that's kind of, you know, like I'm not necessarily storming into a room and telling everybody what to do, but at the same time, I definitely have control issues. So yeah, that is just kind of an interesting thing. And I don't know, I think it's important to always try and work on yourself, always try to better yourself. But the main thing I want to talk about is just that it's okay to be uncomfortable. I know that that's not really that much of a hot take, but like, I think I've really struggled with feeling uncomfortable in perfectly fine situations, you know? And I think what I'm learning about when learning about myself and how I handle things is the only way I can get better is to be uncomfortable, you know? Like, I'm not saying go put yourself in a really uncomfortable situation. That's not what I mean. But you know what I mean? Like, public speaking, for example. If you've got a fear of public speaking, but you really want to do it, the only way you can get better is by practicing and doing it. Like, I know this sounds like some, like, men's podcast kind of shit, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously don't do anything dangerous, but some things in life, you know, if you're scared to, you know, talk in a language that you've been learning, you just kind of have to do it. Otherwise, you won't know if you're mispronouncing things. Or, you know, you might travel to that country and then not be able to do it. You'll be too scared to try and speak in that language. So, I guess that's just like what I've really been learning is like how I react when I'm uncomfortable with something. And like what to do in that situation. Because, yeah, I don't obviously try and put myself in uncomfortable positions, but I've kind of realized I kind of have made myself, at least in, you know, friendships and romantic relationships, sometimes I keep myself too safe, you know, because I'm too scared of addressing my issues. So, you know, that is really interesting. And yeah, I don't know. I just, I feel like a lot of the time being uncomfortable, at least for me, is because it's a bad situation or it's something that I don't want to do. So obviously I'm not going to do it. Unless it's something that like is actually going to benefit me and is actually good for me. I'm not going to do something I don't want to do. I'm not trying to urge anybody to do something they don't want to do. But you know what I mean? Sometimes it is just like, I guess, like, this sounds so cheesy, but like love. Oh shit, have I got on my hair? I don't know what that was. But like, love is something I don't really understand. Or know, like, I love my friends and I can show that quite well, I'd like to think, but romantic love is just something I really struggle with. And I can't ignore it by hiding from it. I can't just be like, oh, I don't want a relationship, so it doesn't matter. But like, what if, I don't know, like, it's just, it's like, yeah, but what if you were to meet the love of your life tomorrow? You're not going to communicate with them because you've not tried. You've not, especially because at the age I'm at, I feel like this is a good time to navigate things in life, It's like, I do feel quite mature, but like, it's learning to be an adult, I guess. So, I've learned to do a lot of my finances. I've learned what it's like living at home and whatever, but like, I don't know, I'm not really learned about relationship, and it's not, because I can't, it's because I won't. And I think that's the issue. Like, I definitely can't always love people the way that other people love people, but like, there's certain things I can fix, and there's certain things I can do to better my relationships with other people. You know? So yeah, it's just kind of odd for me because, how does someone go about that? Like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of things like I don't know, like, yeah, language. If I feel uncomfortable speaking that in public, I know how to like make myself feel more comfortable, like, I know that I can like work on it more and I can like start slowly trying to, but like with something like love, you can't it's kind of hard to be like, oh, I'm doing this specifically and this is gonna help. Like, I don't know, I feel like I need a lot more guidance on it than anything else in my life because I don't know like how or what I'm supposed to do. Like, obviously I've got like, it's not like I'm like out here being evil, I've got a moral compass and I know like certain things, but I mean, I don't necessarily like, I don't know, it's just hard to explain, the way I react to things isn't necessarily the way I should, and that's not necessarily like big outbursts or anything, but you know what I mean? Like, I do become very emotionally unavailable very quickly at very small things, and then I don't know how to, I'm not emotionally unavailable because I don't care, I do care, but I don't necessarily know how to, stop bottling that up inside of me, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, I don't know, it's just hard to admit to somebody that like you're upset or admit how you feel about someone. Like, yeah, it's just something I really struggle with. Which I feel like is something very vulnerable to talk about as well. Like, I don't know, especially for someone who doesn't really get into relationships. This is literally the whole reason why. I just really struggle, because that's not the main reason I don't like relationships. Like, it's not that I don't believe in them, I guess, but it's just like, I don't think it's fair for me to get into a relationship with somebody when I can't, you know, always process my emotions, or I don't always know how to react, you know? Like, I don't want to react in the wrong way, but at the same time, not reacting sometimes is worse, because that upsets people more, you know? So yeah, I don't know, I just, like, I've just always been aware that, like, you know, it's something I need to work on, but at the same time, yeah, like, I don't want to get into relationships because I don't want to put that burden on somebody, but at the same time, you know, I'm not saying, oh, you've got issues in relationships, go seek out all these relationships. You know what I mean? Like, some things you do, you know, need to speak to somebody else about. You know? Like, yeah, I don't know, it's just like, I'm not a relationship person, I know that. But how much of that is my personality, and how much of that is, like, my response to things that happen in my life, you know? I guess it's like, what did I say about kids? It's like, nature and nurture. It's like that, like, you know what I mean? How much of this is just the way I am, and how much of this is due to other factors? Like, you know, I'm not sure I blame my parents, but, you know, the way I was raised, or, I don't know, something that happened to me, or, like, you know, it's really, interesting, and, yeah, I don't know, it's just, I feel like in my heart that I'm such, like, a hopeless romantic. I'm such a, you know, like, I just feel like I'm that kind of girl, but I'm not, and it's not, I don't know, like, I feel like I'm, like, I don't know, I don't know how to explain how I feel. I guess I feel like a hopeless romantic, you know, like, I'm in love with the idea of love. I think it's so beautiful, but when it actually comes to a relationship, I don't know if that is what I am, you know, but maybe that's just because I've not been able to let go enough to let myself feel loved in the way that I should, I guess. I don't know. You know? Like, I've always got to assume somebody else knows ulterior motive, even if they don't, or I've always got to be like, like, can't fully trust them, even though I can. And I know I can't, I don't know. So maybe that's what holds me back from that kind of thing. But I just feel like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing. I'm full of love, but I can't always give it to people. And I think that's just such a hard thing to explain to somebody who doesn't relate. Yeah, I don't know, it's just really a really bizarre feeling, you know? Like, one day I hope I fall in love and I'm able to give somebody my everything, but currently I know I can't do that. And, you know, yeah, I'm not that old, but there's clearly a lot I need to work on in a very short time space, you know? And yeah, I don't know, it's just an odd realization that obviously it's not all my fault, but a lot of the things that are holding me back in that aspect of my life is myself. You know? Where, like, for most other aspects of my life, I hold myself to, like, very high standards. I push myself very hard, but it's almost like I'm a little lazy when it comes to relationships, just based on fear. I'm like, would I rather, you know, do something that scares me, but will help the way I cope? Or would I just rather not speak to this person? Unfortunately, I'm like, yeah, oh well, nice knowing you, but it's not me, it's you. Have a great life. Instead of actually being like, maybe this person actually wants to work things out, or maybe I should try, you know? Which is probably just like some, coping mechanism, because I don't want to get hurt. Because that would be shit if, like, the one person that I tried with, wasn't a good person. But I don't know, it's just very interesting, thing in life. It's something like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know about love. I don't. I don't know about anything, I could tell you a lot about friendship. I could write you essays upon essays about friendship. The good and the bad, and but when it comes to love, I could talk about how my mom loves me. But I couldn't tell you about, like, romantic love. I just really don't know how I feel about it, or a lot about it, Like, I don't know, I'm just the kind of girl where, like, I would see my friends happily in love and be like, oh my god, that's amazing, that's so sweet, blah, blah, blah. But if it was about myself, or it was me watching myself, I don't think I would feel the same. I think I would just, not know what to say. And it's not that I think I'm unlovable. I mean, I think that I'm a very wonderful person. Not to sound narcissistic, but aware that good qualities, that I'm really friendly and, like, blah blah blah. But, like, I just don't know. Yeah, like, almost in a weird way, how to love someone. Like, I do, but I like really struggle with it. And, like, just the concept of love in general. Yeah, it's just one of those things. I'm like, oh, that's lovely, but couldn't be me. And not in, like, a self-pity kind of way, just genuinely, I've never imagined myself, like, necessarily, like, married, or, like, not necessarily even married, just, like, in a very long-term relationship. Like, I just feel like that would really be difficult for me. Not that I can't be loyal to somebody, I definitely can, but just, like, there's so many emotions that I've never felt before that I would have to navigate in so many situations. Like, that's what I'm learning is, what scares me about love is it's so new to me. At least healthy love is so new to me that I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where to put it. I don't know how to use it correctly, I guess, Yeah, it's just a really odd thing. Like, I feel like I'm really good in friendships, but when it comes to relationship, I just don't know what I mean. Like, I feel out of my depth, to be honest. You know? Like, and that's not that, like, obviously, like, I know how to flirt with people, I know, like, all that. But, like, I just mean, like, I don't, if somebody was to turn up at my door and confess their love to me, I don't know what I would do, to be honest. I would, like, I don't know if you heard that, somebody's shouting outside. But, like, that would really, like, startle me, to be honest. Even if I love them, I'd be like, oh my god, what has just happened? Yeah, so it's just, I'm sure I'll get better with it. I mean, look, I'm learning what I'm supposed to do, what not to do. also just I'm learning how to talk about how I feel in that regard a lot better. And just in general, I'm just really learning to talk about how I feel, because I'm a yapper. I'm definitely very talkative, clearly. This has almost already been 30 minutes, so clearly I love to yap to myself and to you and to all my friends, but yeah, I do definitely struggle with communicating certain things, I don't know how to just be like, look, I'm really overwhelmed, or even just being like, look, I don't know not what to do, but I think instead of communicating, I just shut down. And then the person's really confused. I'm really emotionally unavailable and I'm not able to communicate how I feel, because Orla's always able to communicate how she feels. But it's just because I'm in a situation I've never been in before. You know? Sorry, I've got an AGI. But yeah, so that is just very interesting. I guess it's all part of the human experience. But yeah, it's just such a weird thing when you're in a lot of healthy friendships. You know how to be in a healthy friendship. You know how to love somebody platonically, but when it comes to romantically, it feels like, I've said this before, it feels like I'm being waterboarded. Genuinely. It's like being waterboarded but not knowing what information they want from you. So you're just getting waterboarded, and then they're asking you these questions or whatever, interrogating you, and you're just you don't want to get waterboarded again, but at the same time, you don't know what to say to stop yourself from getting waterboarded, I guess. Just a bit of an odd analogy, but that's just kind of how I feel. So yeah, I didn't expect this to be my theme. I thought I'd talk about it a little bit, but didn't realize I'd be able to fill the time with it as much. I thought maybe I'd talk about what I've been reading or something else, but hey, that can be for the next episode. Yeah, just very, very, I mean, I don't know, it's probably not that interesting to some people, but for me, I don't know, I just find people's relationships with other people and people navigating life is just kind of interesting. And I'd like to think that I've got my shit together for the most part. I'm young, but for what I want to do with my life, I've got a very clear vision of what I want to do and who I am and all that good stuff. But comes to relationship, if you were describe yourself in a relationship, or I don't know, describe what you want in a relationship, I would be I would not know what to say. And it's not that I don't know what I want. I feel like I do know what I want. I just don't know how to communicate what I want. Which isn't great for a relationship, as you can imagine. It's not great for anything where you have to be emotionally vulnerable. But yeah, trust. I'll figure it out. We can all figure it out, Might take time, but for anybody who feels the same way as me, trust. We got it. We got it in the bag, We will figure this out together. But yeah, so that is this month's episode of Girl on a Microphone. We'll see what the next episode is. Try not to control things as much, No, I'm joking. Yeah. I don't grow with a microphone because I just talk about whatever I want. I don't always fully plan what I'm going to say. So, yeah, I will have a think though. But yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in the next one.